Andrew O'Connell, Happy New Year. I know it's February now, but I'm still going to say Happy New Year if I haven't talked to you since last year. And welcome back to Face. What's on the agenda? How are you, Andrew?
Dale, my trading warrior brother. How's it going, man? Happy New Year.
Thank you, buddy. I believe if my old brain is accurate, you were pretty constructive the market the last time we were on. And if you were constructive 3 months ago, it was a great call. Um, am I accurate? Is my memory S&Ps? I believe we talked about them, and you were saying higher.
That is accurate. Yeah, so
Okay.
the last quarter of the year, it was pretty fantastic. One thing that I've realized just from studying the market for so long, typically I perform very poorly in the final quarter of the year when we're in a really strong tape because I'll start fighting the trend. But what I realized over time after studying is
Hmm.
that, hey, if the first three quarters of the year are very good and there's some really strong groups in the market that have nice momentum, pretty much it just becomes an end of year performance chase. And
Yeah.
despite what's happening in the macro backdrop, the market just tends to levitate higher if it's got that really good year to date momentum. So, yeah, we were able to ride some of that momentum last year and into this new year as well.
Okay. So you want to share your screen
Yeah, let's go
and
ahead and
show us
share.
what you want to address today. Did the Fed surprise you yesterday, and was the market reaction um, a surprise, or just this pullback in the S&Ps? Just we were overdue.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't.
okay. You want to talk cannabis? Okay,
Yeah, so we
wherever you
can.
want to go.
Yeah, well, let's start off on the indices, and then yeah, I'd love to talk about the cannabis stocks as well. But yeah,
Okay.
to your point about the Fed meeting, yeah, I don't think anything was a surprise. Like I kept looking at the Fed fund futures, and I kept seeing that hey, there's like earlier in the year a 60% chance of a rate cut for March. Then that probability went down to 50, and in my eyes, I don't really think there's any chance of a March cut. So the fact that Powell kind of came out and said, "Hey, we're not really looking for March. That's not our base case. But
Right.
hey, we do plan on cutting rates later in the year." That was kind of par for the course for me. And I think the market was just so overheated coming into that event. A lot of these AI stocks had run so much. And yeah, it was kind of par for the course, to be honest. I don't think we really learned a whole lot of new information yesterday.
Okay. I have a question as far as the market reaction. Yields dropped, which normally would have been bearish a dollar. Um,
Yeah.
uh, he stayed firm. Discount rate didn't move, but yields dropped. It's almost like it didn't matter that he said they're not going to do anything in March. The market had a mind of its own and pushed the 10-year sharply lower. So what do you make out of that action?
Yeah, this
Does it matter what the Fed does anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this chart of the ZN contract, if you're
Yeah,
just looking at the technicals, this thing right here
bullish.
on yeah, on my charts I have these things over here. It's the monthly value area. And
Yeah,
I tend to trade this way where it's like, hey, if it's above the monthly value area, that's bullish. Inside, pretty neutral, and then below is bearish. So yeah,
yeah,
from pure technical, this looks fantastic. But based on that meeting, it's kind of like, why the heck are bond yields moving lower based
right.
on what Powell said? So I did some research and I'm pumped to share it with you because I was in the same boat as many where I'm like, what the heck's going on? Why
I
does the
was
bond market
thinking the
not
market
care?
thinks he's wrong. He should have been cutting because they're worried about economic weakness. So they're leading the Fed.
Exactly. I think that's it. So we've got this story over here, this bank that essentially blew
Oh,
up
okay. Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Yeah, ticker NYCB. So we're seeing continued evidence that, hey, some of these banks, especially the ones, with the real estate exposure,
Yeah.
they're struggling due to these high interest rates, and there's still
Yeah.
some cracks under the surface. So I think that's just one point of the argument. But this, I think, is much more important. Look at this that I have here on this spreadsheet. So there's a lot of numbers on here, but really the key is every single month I track the month over month CPI number. I put it in a
Yeah,
table right here, and I track the 3 month annualized CPI as well as the 6 month annualized CPI. Right now, that 3 month average annualized, it's 1.79%, which is below the Fed's target.
yeah.
So the inflation numbers, they're trending in the right way. If we look at the 6 month average annualized CPI,
They're flattened out.
it's a little bit higher, right? It's still at 3.33%. That's above the Fed's target.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not like, hey, we have a green light to start cutting rates right now. But what I'm looking at, man, is so for this 6 month number included in here in August, we got a whopping plus 0.63% month over month CPI number. And then you can see in September, we also had another really big one, plus
Yeah.
0.4%. My view is that in the next couple months, let's say we get like a plus 0.1% month over month number, or it's like plus 0.2. In the next few months, we're going to see the year over year CPI drop significantly just because some of these big month over month numbers are
Comps.
going to fall out. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So
The
I
comps.
so I think the market actually has this right where we're going to look back in a couple months and we're going to be like, dang, the CPI is really close to 2 now. And given what's happening with these banks, given the level of real rates, it's going to make sense for the Fed to start looking at those cuts. But I think the thing the market got a little bit wrong was it's just not going to happen in March. It might start happening in May. It might be June. But overall, I think the market has sniffed out the plot here.
All right. You know what, Andrew? What you're doing, not necessarily what you're saying, is a very teachable moment for viewers that are watching this interview. You see all the hard work that Andrew puts in to try and get an edge in the market. If you think it's easy and you could just open up your platform and trade, you're you're selling yourself short. It's a lot of hard work to come up with conclusions. So, it shows, Andrew, with all the work that you do, spreadsheets that you keep, and all of that. And the best traders are the hardest working people. Is what I've noticed. They really live, breathe it, and put intense hours into doing this. So you're a great example for people trying to become a trader.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, the data science stuff, I really love it because there's so many things we learn as traders where it's like, oh, this is just common knowledge or common wisdom. Someone said it to me, so I believe it. But what I try to do is like, how do I get to the truth? And the price action is always the truth. But to be honest, like just with my personality, I'm not the best if I'm just trading off the chart. Like I am trading off the chart, but I like to have some sort of context or some bearing for what's going on.
A
So yeah,
narrative.
exactly. Yeah, not even a narrative, but just some data that will guide
Okay.
me. So like this Trueflation dashboard. So it's like, okay, I did that analysis. There's some big month over month numbers that are going to fall out of the CPI calculation. But what are those upcoming numbers going to look like? Are the big numbers going to get replaced by more big numbers or get replaced by small numbers? This Trueflation dashboard does a really good job at showing you in real time what the inflation outlook is. And you can see this thing is kind of falling off a cliff. Now it's at 1.44%.
So we end up being worried about deflation because we're underneath the Fed target in the next several months.
That could be, to be honest, I think the market's going to run with it and just be like, look at this, it's a Goldilocks outcome. And I
Okay.
think given the fact that we're in a presidential election year, I think there's going to be some tailwinds from there as well, where they want to keep this party going. And yeah, I think, we go back to the chart, given all those narratives and data we just chatted about, and the chart is kind of in line with this. So I'm actually pretty bullish on bonds. And I think the big mistake people can make is like, are they going to start in March or are they going to start in May? Like, I think that's just kind of like in the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. for something like a 10-year treasury or a 30-year treasury. The timing of which month is not going to matter as much. So yeah, I'm pretty constructive on bonds here.
Okay, so that bank that failed, we had a guest on Monday that showed the facility that the Fed put in last spring for Silicon Valley Bank and all the other banks that were, you know, depositors were fleeing for higher rates, started increasing demand for that. And that's before this story broke. So is it also possible that we still have some systemic risk in our banking system that that yields might be seeing?
I think that's definitely possible. Yeah, I mean, it just shows like these banks, especially the ones with the commercial real estate exposure, they're
Yeah,
basically like pinned. It's like when you're in a bad trade as a trader and you just get
yeah,
pinned and you're stuck. And it's like, dang, the only way I'm going to get out of this is if I take a loss. And I think unfortunately that's the situation a lot of these small regional banks are in, where it's
yeah,
almost like they need life support. So yeah, the KRE you can see had like a really ugly day yesterday and is
yeah,
trading towards the low end of this range. So yeah, I think from the KRE perspective, we basically need inflation to fall precipitously. We need those rate cuts to start coming in the
yeah.
maybe the
That
middle
that
of the
is
year,
ugly.
second half.
Do you have a
Yeah,
weekly so that our viewers could look left?
yeah, let's take a look at this.
All right. See where it failed from?
Ah,
A few weeks ago, it didn't quite get back to the breakdown. So while the S&Ps were, and Nasdaq and AI, the new .com, were going parabolic, all we could muster since last spring was maybe a 50% retracement that looks like a pretty ugly weekly candle here. Why can't we have a problem here? And that certainly will make the Fed move if KRE starts to melt down to new lows again. So I think it's all about the banks, not as much about economic numbers, but um, if we have a recession, it's going to be. I think it's going to be kicked off by some kind of financial problem, not
I
and then the employment situation also deteriorates.
yeah, I could not agree with you more, Dale, because yeah, this is really what
Isn't that
matters. Like,
ugly?
yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't look good. And I think for the Fed, it's like, is the Fed just going to start cutting rates when like stocks are at all-time highs and like
yeah,
everything just looks perfect? We
right.
probably need something bad to happen, and we're starting to see the cracks in KRE. And then what's
Yeah,
going on in
yeah,
China as well? They had that big property developer
yeah.
that's now going to be
Evergrande.
liquidated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, we're just starting 2024. You have any themes or statistics that lead you to how you're going to position yourself this year, or at least in the first quarter? You
Yeah,
going to buy
so
this break in S&Ps and Nasdaq, or what?
so now I think we're in a kind of tougher spot. I think February is going to be a really difficult trading month, and I think March could be as well. I think sort of like we had a little like easy money window in January, and I think
Yeah,
the next 2 months will be more challenging. But the theme that I'm following very closely, so I'm doing the US Investing Championship again for 2024, and I've turned more into like a swing and position trader over time. So the theme that I'm very in tune with this section, my biggest position. I put it on right in the beginning of the year. It is oddly enough these these cannabis stocks. So check this out.
yeah.
Let's see what we got going on over here. Let's pull up the chart. Basically, the theme that I'm tapping into is, hey, these cannabis stocks, they had a great rally heading into the last presidential election. And really the narrative was, hey, we're going to legalize cannabis. It's going to be awesome. And there was a huge run. But then it turned into a big sell the news event. Once the election happened, Biden won.
Well,
We
it never happened. I mean, they never got that law passed so that they could have bank accounts. and write off expenses. I forgot what the act was called. So recently, what they did by just lowering the schedule is kind of a compromise. It's not the whole package, but it helped, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that Safe Banking Act never went through.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah, so there were some promises or some like yeah, it basically just turned into a buy the rumor, sell the, news not happening. But then if you look over here on the chart, this thing just got absolutely obliterated for 3 years straight. And you
yeah,
can see like this was just an absolute washout down here.
yeah,
Then we got this headline that crossed the wires.
yeah,
HHS recommends reclassifying cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And you can see a bit of a change of character here where we had a nice pop. One thing
yeah,
that I track on my volume here, this HVE, this means that it was the highest volume ever. So we got that headline, and suddenly this thing looks a little bit different, right? But there's
yeah,
so many bag holders in this ETF that you can see we had a full retracement of that move.
yeah,
Then we rallied back, and you can see we have another retracement here, but not as deep.
yeah.
And now the MSOS is
Challenging those
climbing.
highs. Yeah,
Yep. So these highs right over here, we're challenging those highs. So what I would love to see, I put the MSOS on right at the beginning of the year, and my goal for this trade is let's see if I can hold it for the entire year. So I would love to see this thing even
pull
pull
back
back here.
and add
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yes, pull back. Maybe this thing consolidates, tightens up a little bit,
Yeah.
potentially add to the position. And then if we get some good news here, and it's going to depend on if we actually get some good news, then perhaps this thing has a
Well,
breakout.
can we really expect anything like a safe banking act to come through this Congress until next year with the election? I mean, they can't even get a, a wall, a bill passed about the border and aid to Ukraine. So, I mean, this isn't high on, Maslow's needs. I believe it was Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the Congress.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to get like a comprehensive like safe banking act, but
Yeah.
really what we're playing for this year is just that rescheduling of cannabis from a Schedule 1 drug, which is like, the most dangerous drugs out there, to Schedule 3, which is basically like more minor drugs. So that I do believe it's achievable. And I
Okay.
think this Biden administration, they want to show, hey, it wasn't an empty promise. We made that promise, and hey, we made a little bit of progress. So I think to try to win voters, there will be that push. But to your point, yeah, getting something actually through, that's a whole nother story. So that's part of the risk of the trade where if nothing happens or if that all blows up, I could see this thing retracing all of these gains since this rumor started. So that's really
Yeah.
like the risk.
Okay. All right. Well, very unloved sector. A lot of people got rich initially and went to the poorhouse for years on this
Hmm.
trade. Show a monthly of this.
Yeah,
So
check this
people
out.
have perspective that even though it looks like we had a big rally here, and it was a nice rally in comparison to where it was, I mean, it's just a correction. So we can't see how high it was. Maybe try the weekly.
Yeah, let's go back here.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So
Let's
it's
go.
really just coming off what a 2 year base.
Yeah, check this out. So from the weekly perspective,
Yeah.
yeah, this thing
50, 50,
all the way up
60.
there.
Yeah.
Huge slide. And now you can see, so we had a massive downtrend.
Yeah.
Now this thing is starting to, it just looks like it's kind of
Base.
basing sideways now.
Yeah.
So now here it's like, I have people that I know that they're like, should I sell my position now? And because it's up like 30% year to date or something like that. And for
Yeah.
me, I'm trying to take this as more of like a position trade where
You
like,
know
hey,
what
it's
we,
not.
oh, Andrew, I just had a flash.
Mhm.
Let's do what those guys did in the movie Dumb Money with GameStop and just start a whole, trend. about cannabis stocks and go into all the chat rooms and change people's lives and have it go up 30 times. And, anyway, did you see that movie, Dumb Money?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, anyway, so let's be dumb money and get rich and instead of being smart money and grinding it out. Anyway, um, yeah, some interesting looks here in the cannabis, and I wish you a lot of luck in that championship you're going out for.
Thank you so
So,
much.
um, anything else you wanted to wrap with?
Yeah, so I think that's about it. Yeah, cannabis is a big theme for me. I'm
Yeah,
also really constructive on bonds for the reasons that we shared earlier.
okay.
So yeah, I guess my closing thoughts is I think in 2024, given that it's an election year and given that inflation is undoubtedly moving lower and the Fed policy is getting a bit easier, I do believe that the market's going to levitate higher throughout the year, but I think there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. So I'm bracing myself for a much tougher February environment and a much tougher March. But yeah, I'm pretty optimistic overall. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on today.
Andrew, is just something that uh, kind of looks similar, despite the fact that physical gold has been holding up and silver doing okay. If you look at the miners, they look a little bit like the cannabis.
Yeah, gold looks so good. Yeah, the miners, yeah, they're doing their thing. They're kind of chopping sideways as well. I think for me,
For a
like,
long time. I mean, they're within eye shot of, well, that's a metal, but pull up a miner like Newmont or any of them individually.
yeah, let's take
Newmont
a
had
look.
some mining issues, but look at that.
Yeah, this
We're
one,
almost back to the COVID low.
yeah, that's kind of interesting because gold is looking so good. So I'm
Yeah,
wondering why these miners are not following.
well, good. I planted the seed. Let me know after you do about 10 hours
Yeah, this
of
is
research. All
interesting.
right. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is interesting.
I thought this was kind of like your style. You could put up GDX as a little better chart, but there are a lot of golds that are pressing new lows with gold, trading where it's at above
That is
2000.
that is nuts. So yeah, if gold does something and just like it's so close to breaking out, if it gets that breakout, then yeah, these gold miners have basically a catch-up trade in them, it looks like.
Yeah, they've been lagging big time. Or the silver's been even worse. SILJ is the junior miners.
Yeah, let me see this. ILJ. Over here, this amplify. Yeah, very similar. Let me see the daily. Yeah, so if we
I
look
mean,
at the
right now it looks negative to me, but I'm getting ready to try a buy. I'm looking for one more break in the metals as the dollar goes to 105 or so.
yeah, I'll be watching these, especially like, we saw some weakness the past couple of days, but we
Yeah,
have this low from November.
yeah,
So it's like, hey, if this thing, we have this low from January 19th. If
yeah.
this thing can't make lower lows and just turns here, trading against this pivot right here, like this 929 level, I'm pretty interested in that. I'm gonna set an alert here.
Okay. Anyway, give and take. That's what we do here in interviews. It was great batting the ball around with you, Andrew. How do people follow your work and stay in touch with you on X? I know it's Real Pristine Cap. Any other way if people want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so check me out on X, Real Pristine Cap. I also write a Substack as well. And basically, what I do is I just take all of my nightly research that I use to prepare for the trading session and I put it all in my Substack. So definitely feel free to check that out. There's a free version and a premium version. And yeah, I'd love to see people over there.
Okay, Michael Weissman's a man after my own heart. See what he wrote
Oh, yeah, let's see.
in the chat?
I'll, I'll do my best for the consumption side. Let's go. Appreciate
I'm
you,
going to try and
Michael.
help you too, buddy. So good luck on that trade. Medical. Anyway, thanks, Andrew. Great getting together with you, and let's get in touch, and we'll be talking in the spring again.
Thanks so much, Dale. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. Talk soon.
Yeah, Andrew O'Connell at Pristine Cap. Um, Follow him, and you can join the team in about 17 minutes on the Morning Edge. And we'll be back here on Face Live to cover the NFP Live. Trade it with us. You're welcome. You're welcome, Laura. See you guys. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.